So let's now make sure that these grid items are tappable. And for that here, I'm going back to my category grid item Dart file. And in there, we can make this container or any other widget tappable by wrapping this widget that should be tappable with another widget. And that other widget would be the InkWell widget. Now actually, the InkWell widget is not just about making some child widget tappable. That could be achieved with the gesture detector widget as well. If you wrap a widget like this container with gesture detector, you can add a broad variety of listeners to it, for example on tap, but also many other listeners to listen to all kinds of user interactions with the child widget. But if you use InkWell instead, you can also add a on tap or many other listeners, as you can see. But in addition, you get a nice visual feedback if a user taps the item. With gesture detector, you would get no feedback. With InkWell, you do. That's why I'm using InkWell. With InkWell wrapped around container, I can add the onTap parameter to set up a function that will be triggered whenever this item will be tapped. So with that, we already would be able to listen to events, but I'm not done yet. In addition, I'll set a splash color, which will be important for this visual tapping effect that we get. And I'll set this to theme of context primary color, to use one of my theme colors for that, or as a basis for this effect, to be precise. And we can also set a border radius here, which does not want a number, but instead a border radius object, which can be constructed in different ways. For example, by using the circular constructor, which allows us to define a radius like 16 to give these items some nice rounded corners. You can try out different values here to get exactly the look you want. So with that, these items should be tappable. Right now, nothing happens when we tap them, but they are tappable. And if we save this all and force a reload, we can see this effect in a very subtle way. If you tap and hold one of these items, you see it light up a little bit. But of course, we don't have the rounded corners, or at least we don't have the rounded corners on these items right now. If we tap one and hold this, the highlight effect indeed has rounded corners. So the missing thing here indeed only is to go to this container in our category grid item. And there in decoration, besides adding this gradient, I also want to add a border radius. And just as on the InkWell, this border radius should be set to border radius circular 16, like this. And with that, now we finally get these rounded corners and this nice highlight effect if we tap and hold. Of course, the next goal is to make sure that we can not just tap and hold, but that we actually navigate to a different screen if we tap one of these items.